Welcome out to the show, Night Guys Studio 321. It's your host, Eddie B. All right, guys, how you doing? Good to be back with you. I hope you're doing well out there tonight. I'm doing well. Tonight we're going to do a threefer, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the H-1B visas, how Trump upped the price on that, what that's all about, a little bit about Trump's UN speech, which that was beautiful, and why the Democrats have been freaking out so badly over the last 8 months. Because it seems to get worse and worse all the time. We're going to talk about all three things. But first of all, guys, if you like my video, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel, helps spread the word. And, like-minded people, man, we got to think alike and stick together. Okay, so let's get right into it. So the H-1B visa. Trump announced this week that he was raising the cost of an H-1B visa from $1,500 to $100,000 per applicant. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's go back to the beginning. An H-1B visa is a visa that allows a foreign worker, usually in the tech field or kind of the specialized fields normally. It allows them to get a visa from another country to come here and work. And again, usually it's for like Apple or IBM or the big companies like that. But what happens is the company has to pay for that. That $1,500 is like a sponsorship, basically saying we're going to bring this person over. We need 200 people in a certain field. And they always claim that we don't have enough workers over here for it, so they use the foreign workers. But just like anything else, that H-1B program has gotten taken advantage of by the American companies. So what they do is, let's say they get 100 tech workers from India, right? They bring them over here, they sign them up, they pay the $1,500 per person to the government for the H-1B visa. And then what they do is when they employ these people, okay, it becomes almost like an indentured servant type of situation. Now, yes, they do get paid, but they don't have to pay them as much as they do American workers. And they also, if the person quits or gets fired, they can't stay in the country. They have to go back home. So imagine being in that position where you want to be in America. You're working for a company, but if you lose your job there, you have to leave the country. Okay, and so what that does is, obviously you can tell that causes major problems for the workers, but the overall picture of it is it's employing a foreign worker rather than an American, right? So this has been going on for a long time. A lot of the big companies use H-1B all the time. I know Tesla does, all of them. So they've had a lot of influence over this program for the last so many years. I don't know why exactly Trump attacked it at this angle. I think he felt like this might be the easiest way to get rid of that program, is not to actually get rid of it, because there's a lot of challenges. You'd be challenged in court, day and night all the time. Rather than doing that, he upped the price, because remember, the company who hires this person is going to have to pay that visa fee. It went from $1,500 per worker to $100,000. So basically what that's going to do is destroy that whole program. There's no company out there going to pay $100,000 per worker. Now, you might get a couple in like super high tech, limited, where you don't have a lot of people to pick from around the world, maybe nuclear type stuff. A few top notch employees that we wanted to get from other countries. They might pay $100,000 on them, but they're not going to do it for regular workers. They're just not. Okay, so this will basically destroy the H-1B program, which will give regular Americans what we want, right? It will give us better access to high-paying tech jobs or just high-paying jobs in general. A lot of the companies are going to make a big stink about it. They already are. Of course, you got the lefties out there, which what do they automatically say? Oh, it's racism. They don't want, brown skin or Indian workers over here. It has nothing to do with that. So then, I was talking online last week with some guys, and we were kind of arguing back and forth about it. And they said, oh, well, then they'll just outsource again. Well, they're not going. No, they're not going to outsource because you can't do that with the tariffs in place. You see what I'm saying? So Trump has forced the companies to come back to the United States with the tariffs. I mean, they can stay overseas and keep making products if they want to, but they're going to pay the tariff to get the product into the United States. So basically, he's telling the companies, come back into the country, right? So what the companies would do is they would come back into the country and say, fine, we're back in America. And then they would hire a bunch of H-1B visa workers and pay them less to make the product. And Trump has now basically blocked that by charging $100,000 per person. And I applaud it. Trump has said the whole time we need to put Americans back to work, and this is a way to do it. And again, if he tried to just shut the H-1B program down, he'd be sued left, right, and sideways. So now he's just made it impossible to operate, and it's way too expensive. So basically what's going to happen is they're going to forget about hiring foreign workers, and they're going to hire American workers. Now, there's always the argument of, oh, well, there's not enough skilled American workers out there, which, that's a cop-out, right? Companies like Apple and Tesla and all these huge companies, right? I mean, some of them are trillion-dollar companies, right? Why can't they start technical schooling? Why can't they start some pre-programs and get some young Americans in these, some maybe, I don't know, after college programs or even without maybe some tech schools with no college, but put them in these tech programs to teach them specific jobs for the companies that need to hire them. That would be a great program too. So they should really look into doing that. And then we can prep these young Americans for these jobs, and everybody can start making the money that we need to make. Okay, so enough on that. So Trump's UN speech. I don't know if you saw that this week. It was a barn burner, man. I loved it. Of course, I'm a Trump fan. So, but this is the thing. I've been watching the UN and what they do for like the last 15 years. I don't know why. I'm weird like that. I follow the weird stuff. I've never liked them. I think their organization is a sham. What they basically do is it's all liberals. It's all liberals in the UN. All the leaders of the UN are liberals. They run around and they just try to push all their liberal policies on countries that are in the UN that don't want to go along with it. And they basically bully other countries. All the Green New Deal crap, just everything like that. And I believe that the UN basically got together to try to gang up on the United States. Now, we're in the UN, right? But they're always like trying to impose stuff on us. Oh, you guys are, your carbon footprint's too high, so you need to stop producing so much, emissions. So then we tighten down on our own emissions, but none of the other countries do, right? Oh, you're polluting the earth, you're digging up, you're digging too much oil, so y'all need to slow down your production. So we slow down our production and nobody else in the world does. So I've always felt like, and this is going way back, this isn't recently, I've always felt like they've kind of used that to try to hold us back so they can advance forward, if you know what I mean. We're supposed to all work together on, buying arms and supplying, countries that don't have it, that are in the UN that might be getting attacked. And we always do that. We put up the money, we put up the weapons, and nobody else ever does. Again, it's always on the United States. I think it's been a scam forever. And Trump basically told him in this speech that it was a scam. He also told him in his speech, now this was something that was funny. He told them in the speech that immigration was destroying their countries. And he basically said, your countries, if you don't stop the immigration, are all going to hell. Now, that was a big quote, and everybody was talking about that today and stuff. But here's the thing. He was sitting in a room full of UN leaders, right? But they don't care what he says, and they all know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They all know what they're doing as far as immigration. They have all these people coming in, and they don't care. I don't think Trump was talking to them. I really don't. Trump was talking to the people in all these countries, the regular folks like us, because a lot of them probably watched his speech. He is telling those people that their leaders suck. That's what he's doing. That's why he did that. He ain't telling the leaders because they already know. You know what I mean? He's probably told them face to face in meetings and stuff, and they already know. He's telling their people. He's basically saying, hey, your countries suck because of your leaders, and you need to figure that out. And that, I thought that was pretty powerful because the Trumpism style movements are catching on all over the world. And I mean, they're catching on big. You're starting to see a lot going on in England, all over Europe, really. Everybody's looking for Trump style leadership, man, because they're starting to understand that strong leadership is important. All this weak crap that they've been doing for the last 10 years is terrible. You know what I mean? All the liberalism is failing everywhere. It's failing. But yeah, he attacked them on that. I was jumping up and down. He attacked them on their energy outputs. Talking about countries that they switched over from their regular oil production or their natural gas, and they tried to go green without really thinking it through or doing a slow transition, and now they're paying double and triple for energy, and now they have to buy it from other countries because they can't even produce enough, right? And again, he was just telling them all that your country's gonna fail if you continue to do this. But again, I don't think he was talking to the leadership. I think he was talking to the people, because now they're looking at the leaders going, yeah, what about this? What about that? You need to fix this. You need to fix that. It's not just coming from them anymore. And he called them all out, and I love it. I loved it. It was a great speech. If you get a chance, watch some of it. There's a bunch of clips of it on YouTube if you don't want to watch the whole thing. But it was a great speech. And it was a long time coming as well. There was a quote in it that said, and this was, I think this summed the whole thing up. The last time Trump did a speech, 6 years ago at the UN, they were all chuckling and laughing at him. But this time nobody was laughing. They all sat silent and watched what he said. So I think that was a major quote, and that tells you the difference. Now people understand that he was right. He was right the whole time. But okay, so now let's get to the last thing. The Democrats are not used to losing as badly as they have been, okay, for the last year. It really started in 2016 when Trump won the first time. Biden's whole presidency was kind of like a blur, and I don't even think that even counted. It might have even made things worse for the Democrats in certain aspects, but they're just not used to losing this badly. And look, this is what I mean by this, okay? You have to realize over the last 30 years, and this is something I realized, Republican leadership has been terrible over the last 30 years. They're weak. They don't push the agenda. They've done nothing. They've basically acted like an opposition party, okay? We let the Democrats run the show. Yeah, we would oppose this and that and try to act like we're up there fighting, but we weren't. Because when you compare the old Republicans to what Trump does now, it's not even in the same ballpark. It's not, okay? None of them fought like he does. His whole team is super focused, super intelligent. I mean, man, he's got a great cabinet around him. He's just doing so much stuff so fast. But it's just a reflection that the guys that we had in the past as Republicans were terrible. We call them rhinos, Republican in name only. That's what rhino stands for, if you didn't know. But it's, they never got anything done. And again, the Democrats kind of just ran around and did whatever they wanted. And anytime the Republicans would pipe up, they would just call us racists, and then they would shut up, right? It's not that way anymore. You have Republicans now that are pushing the Republican agenda, and it's winning. It's working. And the Democrats, they cannot handle it, man, because they're not used to losing like this. And I mean, if you really pay attention, it's loss after loss after loss. And I'll give you one example of that. So when Trump won in 24, the Democrat strategy immediately was to oppose everything with lawsuits, right? And you've seen it. They filed lawsuits on everything Trump does. If Trump went down and bought a sandwich, they'd sue him over it. Okay, so the whole idea behind that is to delay everything he wants to do. Because remember, he's only got 4 years. So every day that they can delay him on something is a day closer to the end of his term. And that's the way they look at it. So lawsuits, they take months. They got to go to the Supreme Court, and, they got to get ironed out by the courts, and it takes time, right? So a lot of this stuff has gone to the Supreme Court. I think I heard some stats the other day. I think like 95% of it, Trump is winning because he was right in the first place. Now they do file an injunction in a lawsuit. They find some judge in some town, some liberal town somewhere who will take up the lawsuit, and then it goes through the court system, but it ends up going to the Supreme Court, and Trump wins. So what's happening is he's winning. Every week now it's Trump won this in the Supreme Court. Trump won that because everything he's doing is constitutional. Okay. His team is not going to waste a bunch of time and put a bunch of stuff forward that's not constitutional, that's going to lose in the courts in the end. There's no point in doing that. It's a waste of time. Now, again, the Democrats want to waste time, so they oppose everything and try to slow it down. So Trump is winning basically all of these cases. And once he wins the case, that agenda moves forward. He just won a big one this week on the, I think it was a couple 100,000 Venezuelans who had some type of protected status. And he tried to take that away before so he could deport them. And, of course, that got bogged down in the courts. But when it went to the Supreme Court this week, the final decision was that, yes, he does have the power to do that, which... again, they knew he had the power in the beginning. He knew it. That's why he was going to deport all of them. But, they just try to slow his agenda down. So it's just loss after loss for the Democrats. And, they're just, we see how they react, man. I've said it before. They're like children. They are. They're like spoiled children who are used to getting their way all the time, right? And then all of a sudden they have a parent or somebody come home, and it's not working out for them, and they're going crazy, right? You've seen all these shootings, the Charlie Kirk shooting, like this thing that just happened in Dallas, and believe me, Trump's 8 months in, right? Almost 9 months now, I guess. This is going to get worse and worse. It's not going to get better. They're going to continue to lose. The Trump legal team is super bright, super smart. They follow the Constitution. So every time this stuff goes to the Supreme Court, they win again. The Democrats are not going to be able to handle it. The Democrat leaders, they don't really have any real leadership. They don't know what to do. So they're running around just talking about, the regular Hitler, fascism, racism, all of that junk to keep their base all fezzed up. And the base is just going nuts, man. It's going nuts. I don't know how much worse this is going to get until it actually just blows wide open. And I don't even know what that looks like. You hear the Civil War talk and all that stuff. I don't know if it ever gets to that point, but I'm going to say that the violence is going to get a lot worse because these people can't handle losing. But the truth is, their style of government sucks. And they didn't pre-plan out any of this stuff. It's like they think day to day, and that's it. The Republicans, man, they've got a deep bench. They're doing a lot of work. They've pre-set up a lot of this stuff, and so they're I think they're going to continue to win over and over and over again, and it's just going to drive the Democrats absolutely crazy. But anyways, guys, I hope you like my video. Please like and subscribe if you like my channel. This is Eddie from Studio 321. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.